So you are telling me that they are going to make the sequel to the movie that ended with Spider-Man being outed, J. Jonah Jameson returning and causing all these problems for Spider-Man. Spider-Man just getting together with Mary Jane and all sorts of nonsense. They can use every actor, every costume, every concept, and anything they want from the comic books. And you're telling me you will not go see a Spider-Man 3? That's something you're going to boycott? You're telling me that in these sequels, it's going to be Tom Holland getting with Zendaya finally, actually, instead of just like puppy dog kissing, but actually hooking up, and you're going to miss that? You're telling me they're going to fast track a Spider-Man versus Venom. That's right, Tom Holland versus Tom Hardy. Super throwdown between these guys. A whole movie about that, and you're gonna skip that movie. You're gonna boycott it because you're on Feige's D so much. That's what you're telling me. That's what you are telling me as a Spider-Man fan. And you know what? If you were telling me that, you are a Marvel fanboy and not a real Spider-Man fan, because Sony has the cards. They have all the cards. They've got at least 3 aces in their hands. And what it is, it's not a win for everybody, but in terms of victories, those 2 movies alone on a short range, you will absolutely see. And rumor has it that they'll finally finish off the Sinister Six, and the whole thing, they might give the Sinister Six a movie. I know Sony has made many failures in the past. However, they have this formula that Marvel gave them. On the other hand, Marvel has all the fans and all the money, so you are listening to the Fat Mantis special reports on Spider-Man. No, MCU no more. That's right, Spider-Man is no longer allowed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Sony Pictures has yoinked the rug from underneath them, and Feige standing there has fallen on his greedy melon head and busted it wide open. So let's break this down. So here's what's basically going on. They had a sharing agreement for the characters and for the whole licenses, and what it went down to is that Sony would foot the bill for the movie. They would get 95% of the box office. Marvel would only get 5%. However, Marvel would get all of the promotional items, toy sales, things like that, anything connected to it, all goes into their pockets. However, they get to stack the deck with Kevin Feige, a few other producers, and a few writers. Now, this is why their writers would always, for instance, in the last one, made sure that there were like technically 5 villains, because that's 5 action figures. Little kids trying to collect these things. There's all these things. They got the Hydro Man, Molten Man, all these crazy guys, Air Elemental, whoever that is. They got Mysterio and all these things. That's why Spider-Man had 4 different costumes in the last one. These are to create more products for little kids or people wearing t-shirts can do, and that's what Marvel was. Marvel was not making money. They were absolutely making a killing off these movies. But when you hear that Spider-Man 2, Far From Home made $1 billion, that is technically that box office right there. Most of that, absolutely vast majority of that, went into Sony's pocket. So that's actually a good press for Marvel, but that is really a financial victory for Sony. And that was the whole setup, and they were fine with that because technically, Sony owns part of the character of Spider-Man, but they absolutely own all his live-action appearances, which means it's Sony who's lending Marvel their own character in this procedure. Okay, so we've broken that entire down. So what greedy Disney did, and Disney lately has just had brass balls, man. They're just so powerful. They're such a powerful company. They rule over everybody's lives. They were just like, you know what? So far I like the deal, but I'm changing the agreement. And Kevin Feige, being like a wicked evil man, he's laughing it up, and he's drinking a bottle of baby's blood or whatever. And he's like, ha 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 ha, money. What's that chick's name? Amy Pascal. So she, the former disgraced executive over at Sony, who is in control of the Spider-Man franchise. She's kind of a crazy chick. I don't know if she's older or what. She's either really old or just crazy, because there's something alluring about her. I'm kind of attracted to her, and her hair is always messed up, and she says the darndest things in interviews. But she was decided to play chicken with him, and she was like, "Oh, really? You want more money? You get nothing." I will make a Tom Holland movie. I will make love to Tom Holland offset. And we will have a good old time, and there is nothing you can do about it. And you know what? There's pretty much nothing you can do about it. So when it comes down to it, people are going to have to decide. They're going to have to decide whether they have loyalties to the MCU or to Spider-Man. At the end of the day, any logical person, anyone who has half a brain, is going to choose entertainment over loyalty. I mean, I don't understand the concept of having loyalty to any company, especially when you don't work for. Someone's brand loyalty, I only watch superhero movies that are made by Marvel. That is idiotic. Trust me, Marvel's made some bad ones. Did you see Captain Marvel? Why don't you go check it out again? Don't, because I don't want you giving me more money. But I'm saying, you know, there's mediocre fares. You've seen Iron Man 2, that was garbage. Thor 2 was also garbage. You know, even Captain America 1 wasn't all that. It was a couple of montages. So ultimately, what I'm saying is people are claiming they're going to boycott, they're going to hold it down. They're like, I'm so proud of Marvel, I'm going to look out for Marvel. That is a pipe dream, man. When that Spider-Man movie comes out, the third one, where he fights the Sinister Six and everyone knows his identity and he has to protect Aunt May and all this madness is going on, we get to see J. Jonah Jameson, there is no way I'm missing that, and you'd be a fool to miss it too. And also, Spider-Man vs. Venom, originally you're going to wait a couple more years to do it. If they fast-tracked it, if that was like the next Venom movie, I would go nuts, man. That is what we want to see. And, you know, I want to compare it to this. I want to absolutely compare it to this. For real comics fans, for people who actually are reading the comics from back in the day, if you remember Civil War, and I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about a super comic book event in 2007 from Marvel Comics. It was such a huge success that the next year was World War Hulk. And after that, they continued to do more and more, and there became an editorial declaration that they said every summer, all the superheroes are going to cross over. So what ended up happening? Anytime you tried to read a superhero comic book, at the end of the event, it would be several issues dealing with the outcome, you know, what ended up happening with the event. And then they have a few issues of their own story being told. But then they'd have to start getting ready for the next event. And it got to the point where nobody could do their own thing. You couldn't stick with an X-Men or Thor storyline because they constantly had to keep worrying about what the next crossover event is. And I noticed that it's good that Endgame came to its end, its pseudo end, but there was a certain point that there wasn't a movie that wasn't crossing over and that no one could do their own thing, and that maybe it could be a good thing that Spider-Man isn't held down to what all the crossovers are going on in the Avengers. Maybe he just needs a break. Maybe I just want to see what's going on in Spidey's land and not have to deal with, you know, Black Panther stepping in every other second. And then Doctor Strange and blah, blah, blah. And we have to worry about New York and whether, you know, can this storyline happen in New York? Because technically in Captain Marvel, this happened in New York and blah, blah, blah. Maybe we just need to get rid of that and we kind of need to step back and just let the heroes be themselves. Like, you know, one of the problems with Captain Marvel is that they were too focused on Infinity War. It was literally what was wrong with every prequel ever. What it is they were constantly prepping for something else and preparing us for something. And they're like, every other scene had to be like, well, we need to reference this. We need to reference this. We need to explain this. No, you don't. Just tell a good story, man. And you know, that's what I'm really hoping Spider-Man goes from this point. Honestly, I think they're showboating. I think both companies are showboating. I think Sony is showing muscle right now. And I think Marvel's going to cave. And they're going to be like, well, we'll take 30% of the box office, and then Sony will be like, that's right, get back in your corner. But really, ultimately, if this doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. We are guaranteed at least 2 amazing movies, if not, you know, 3 or 4 from the Spider-Man thing, and it's not the end of the world. You know, Spider-Man doesn't need to be in the Avengers. It's, you know, I can take that or leave that. He's had his major arc, and it's Iron Man. You know, he's done the Iron Man thing, and actually, I kind of like the idea of him stepping away from being Iron Man light. I want him to be Spider-Man again, you know, ultimately. So that is my take on the whole Spider-Man MCU No More situation. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you have any information? Did I miss any information about these breakdowns? I'm really curious as to what you have to say, because this is I had to do this report. I was at work and it just blew my mind. It was like, what? They did not. It's $1 billion movie, and they decided to pull the plug on you know, the cog that was making that happen. It's crazy, but at the end of the day, I think it's showboat.